G'day, welcome back. Yesterday, China introduced new tariffs on Aussie beef. Yet another blow to us Aussie beef farmers. Apparently, these new tariffs will stop the Australians growing into the Chinese market. It's not necessarily always on what we're doing now, but into the future, because we're having massive growth over there, and it's going to stop that massive growth, or at least tariff that massive growth. It's expected to cost the Australian beef industry about $1 billion a year from now until whenever they decide to fix it, or never. And Albo, in his infinite wisdom, keeps telling us how his international relation is working. Go on, Albo, show me where. Certainly doesn't look like it. Of course, this is on the heels of a recent Labor government decision to scrap the ban on American beef being imported into Australia. American beef is beef that Australians couldn't sell into the market because it does not meet our national livestock, whatever, NLIS requirements. Why not? Well, if you just hang around for a minute, I'll tell you why. Better yet, like and subscribe, do all the usual things, and you'll get many more updates coming up in the future, if it's the sort of thing you want to listen to. But anyway, carrying on. This here is an NLIS tag. I'm just going to carefully cover some of the identifiers. It's put into the ear of a cow. It's got my pick number, that's the bit I'm covering up, plus an individual identifier number. Basically, it's put into a calf, and that makes the calf a unique and traceable animal. Basically, this is a machine. You put it in. I'd show you putting one in, except YouTube had banned the video because it's a little bit too graphic for them. Anyway, it's pretty much like getting your ears pierced. So any of the women out there have done it. Maybe you can explain it to your husbands about how much it hurts, etc., etc. But yeah, it's basically getting your ears pierced. Anyway, that tag cost me about $3, and it cost me about 5 minutes of time compared to putting it together, putting it in, logging it, doing all of the paperwork that I must do, and essentially uploading it to the gods of the MLA. But it does nothing for me. I mean, $3 and 5 minutes work doesn't sound like much, but you do 200 head a year, which is about what we do. I have to give one calf that I sell to Meat and Livestock Australia to pay for it, and about 16 hours of work in the actual work plus the paperwork is just lost for nothing. As I say, it does nothing for me. All it does is basically let the government track me. Anyway, but I only do 200 head. Imagine a 1,000 head property or a 10,000 head property, you know, not to bring in people like Gina Reinhardt, but you know, she's got a couple of 100,000 cows, whatever. Imagine how much it costs them to do that sort of thing. And when I send my cows to the market, the MLA, they have a levy on my cows. That levy is $5 per head that I have to pay to them. It goes to Meat and Livestock Australia, or is it Integrity Systems? I don't know. I can't work out this system, but neither Meat and Livestock Australia or Integrity Systems are government departments, yet they've got a government-approved sort of mafia that hold total control of our industry. And without them, without doing all of their hoops, we cannot sell. Anyway, so NLIS, this whole thing is about traceability. The government knows who to shut down if a disease breaks out, like foot and mouth disease, or we get tuberculosis, or God forbid, brucellosis gets back in the country. But it gives nothing back to me apart from knowing that these diseases aren't in the country. Also tied up with the NLIS program is this thing called the LPA, which is the Livestock Production Assurance Program. Sorry, I have to read that to make sure I get all these acronyms correct, because, you know, these pseudo government departments love their acronyms. a livestock production assurance program is basically me proving to the government, or to MLA, sorry, not the government, to the MLA, that I'm a fit and proper person. Just like everything else in the farming industry, I have to prove I'm a fit and proper person. And I do that by every couple of years, I have to do a course online, but it costs me money. You've got to pay them, and then they allow you to do the course, and then they give you an exam at the end. And if I pass the exam, I'm a registered LPA participant. And that means I can get one of these. Just being careful to cover the things again. This is a, what is it? A National Vendor Declaration booklet. These 3 pages, which all 3 of them have to be filled out at once. It's a triplicate form, you know, everything in the government filled out in triplicate. Cost me about $3 each. I have to fill out my property name, the sex, breed, number of cattle, all sorts of things. What ear tags they've got in them, whether they've got ear tags or rumen devices. That's another thing we can do instead. A whole bunch of questions about how I treated my cattle. And then I have to make declarations to say that I'm telling the truth. And if I'm caught not telling the truth, I'll face $200,000 fines. Anyway, every cattle movement has to have one of these forms. Even if I'm moving my cows from one farm to another farm, which is not really something I do, but other people have a farm up the road and one down the road. If you're moving them between them, you actually have to fill out this form. And we also must update their database. All right. If I fail in any one of these things, like if a cow gets to the market without an ear tag in it, I haven't filled out an NVD, I haven't filled out an NVD correctly, the ear tag doesn't work, because not just on the outside does it have a number, on the inside it has a little electronic thing. You know, the same sort of thing you've got in your dog to track it, to track its number. If that's not working, I face a $220,000 fine per animal. So I don't know, what else do you do? But go to jail or pay the fine. All right, and in mid-2025, the MLA, or Integrity Systems, I don't know which one of the two anyway, they brought in a couple of new rules. Rule number 1, on top of the LPA rules that are already in place that I've just earlier discussed, we now have to have an animal welfare management plan registered with the MLA or the IS, which basically means I have to have a big book of standard operating procedures on how I'm going to treat my animals, or again, they take away my right to sell a cow in Australia. All right, so these are all the things that I have to do. And the second thing they've changed is now I must be a member of Meat and Livestock Australia, or Integrity Systems. I know, I think I have to be a member of Meat and Livestock Australia. And they're essentially a lobby group that goes to Canberra and lobbies government about what the Australian meat industry needs and wants, and they want to be the forefront of all these things. But what they actually want is they want more control. They've already got most of the control. They want more control, so they're lobbying for them, not lobbying for me. And I don't agree with much of their politics, so I don't want to be a member. But if I want to sell a cow in Australia, I must be a member. Not really sure if that's, I don't know, that sounds pretty mafia, or at the very least unionistic. Anyway, all of this stuff just eats into my profits, as you could imagine. But Albo and his cronies just let America bring beef into Australia. And you think, oh, well, that's not so bad. Why don't we just let it come and we'll just deal with it, and if we don't like it, we won't buy it. Well, here's a few issues, just a few of the ones that come to mind at the beginning. America has heaps of diseases. I travelled there 20-something years ago, and when I came back, I couldn't get blood for a year because they have this thing called chiggers. And I had to make sure I didn't have that before I could give blood. So that's one thing the Americans have got that we haven't. The other thing is bovine brucellosis, to name a whole bunch of diseases that they have that don't have. But bovine brucellosis has been deemed fixed in Australia. It's no longer here. We don't have that disease, but they do in America. Now, Americans can send their cows here if they've got bovine brucellosis, and don't, because they don't have to check for it. We do. So that's point one. Point two, any cow slaughtered in America is considered American beef. So if a cow gets imported from Mexico to America, gets killed in a slaughterhouse in America, and then sent to Australia, it gets boxed as American beef. That can happen from if a Canadian brings cows down over the border, if something comes from Argentina or Brazil or, Patagonia, who knows? Anywhere can bring cattle to America. As long as it's killed in an American abattoir, it's considered American beef. So the Americans know that, and they will use that to just pass profits on. They'll just be middlemen for Venezuelan cattle. Anyway, American labelling laws, this all comes part of part two. This is number three. American labour laws are much, much, much weaker than the Australian ones. We've got this thing called MSA grading. That's Meat Standards Australia. See, another great acronym. Again, not a government department, but a thing the industry put together because we needed it. But basically it grades beef. So you at the butcher shop or at Woolies or Coles or wherever you get your meat from, know that when you buy premium mince or premium premium rump or whatever you buy, you're getting the grade you want. If you buy budget, you're going to get budget. If you buy premium, you're getting premium. It's pretty simple. America doesn't have a system like that. So they can send us 10-year-old cows, call it premium, it goes through, you try to eat it, it's tough as old boots, and they don't care, they got paid. So, and the final point, I suppose, is if we let US beef into Australia, we're setting a precedence that any country could send us beef. There's plenty of countries out there that have tuberculosis or foot and mouth disease or bovine yoni, mad cow disease. Those countries now have sort of a precedent that they can come to the Australian government and say, well, you're letting the Americans and the Canadians in, why can't you let us in? And we really have no reason to say no anymore. So it can just destroy the entire industries. So I guess my real question is, if the rest of the world can just send their beef and not have to put it up to the same scrutiny that we have, why are we continuing this system? Why can we just not dump this system and I can go back to growing beef, save a heap of money, and hopefully, maybe the price at the supermarket or at the butcher shop will come down? Basically because the 5-year average for a heavy steer in Australia, according to the Elders market chart that I looked up about half an hour ago, is about $3.30 a kilo live weight. Certainly not the $25 per rump steak that you're paying at, a butcher shop down the road. Someone in the middle is making all of the money because we're the farmers. That $3.30 is about right, and we're not getting paid anywhere near what you're paying. Anyway, if you're still here, I hope I've earned your subscription. I'm just a small channel, so please like, share, do all those things to help my video get out there, so I can do more of these videos. Anyway, stay safe out there. Thanks for watching.